This week, we finally got to see the premiere of Lanterns, and a lot of us have been waiting for it. The Green Lantern is one of my favorite characters in DC lore, next to Batman and maybe Superman following that. And with everything that's been going on in the DC universe, between Superman coming out to, I think we can all agree, a mixed reception, not the worst, but mixed, and then Supergirl coming out and bombing, I think Lanterns was the final straw that a lot of fans, including myself, are like, let's see how this goes, because it could dictate whether I'm going to continue tuning into the new DC universe. And I do have to say, after watching the first episode, I think we've got a winner here. Now, Lanterns, interestingly enough, I'm going to go into some of my thoughts. This is going to be non-spoiler territory, and then when I move into the spoilers, I'll let you all know. But there's a lot of comparisons to True Detective, and that's kind of broad because True Detective, there's multiple seasons, and arguably there was really only one very famous season, which was the first. I would say that the connections are they're true. It's very close in some ways to the first season, which was my favorite season of True Detective. And rightfully so, because the story takes place in three different timelines, 1996, 2016, and 2026. And although they don't necessarily flash back as much between the different timelines, I think that's going to happen in future episodes. I haven't seen beyond episode 1, but what I will tell you is after watching the first episode, I'm definitely hooked. I'm definitely going to stay with it for the season. And I think if you've been on the fence about the DC universe under James Gunn, and maybe you weren't the fan of Superman, or you didn't like it that much, or whether you liked it, and then seeing how bad Supergirl was, I would totally give Lanterns a try. I think it also shows that when you have different creative teams, you'll get a different result, especially because Superman, I felt, had that kind of Guardians of the Galaxy feel. There was a lot of humor in it, and I feel like there was almost a little bit too much humor in it. It worked for Guardians of the Galaxy. It actually worked for the Suicide Squad movie James Gunn did. I felt like it just didn't fit as much in Superman. In Lanterns, although there is a little bit of humor here and there, it's definitely a more serious show, which is what I think someone like me, at least, wants from Lanterns. Now, that is my base review. I'm going to go into spoiler territory now, so if you haven't seen the show, make sure to go watch it before you watch this. But the show picks up in 1996, where we see Jon Stewart, and I'm assuming with his family, with his brothers, and they're watching an interview with Hal Jordan, who it turns out he's been the Green Lantern for a little bit. What I didn't quite get is if Jon Stewart was selected already to be the replacement of the Green Lantern, or he wanted to be. But after we see a really interesting sequence is Jon Stewart as a kid with his father, and kind of almost preparing him to be that fearless Green Lantern by placing an apple on top of his head and shooting it, and Jon Stewart showing no fear. It was an interesting setup, and that scene's widely available online. And then it picks up in 2016, where we find that Jon Stewart is the replacement of Hal Jordan, but he's not wearing a power ring yet. Hal Jordan still has the power ring, and Hal Jordan's supposed to be this mentor, but he's not the Hal Jordan we're used to when we're seeing stories about Hal Jordan Green Lantern. He's, I don't want to say jaded. He's definitely, it seems, well-loved by people in the universe, but I think more jaded about losing his power, realizing that his time as the Green Lantern is coming to an end, and he's going to have to toss that off to his protege in Jon Stewart. Now, the beginning part of the episode, very bantery, like in True Detective, where it's, Jon Stewart's trying to act like, he has no bias against Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan basically knows that Jon Stewart doesn't like him, and it's a very interesting dynamic. And then we jump to Hal Jordan basically forcing Jon Stewart to hold his power ring while he jumps out of a car. And Hal Jordan, it's so funny how you see him jump out of the car, and then Jon Stewart basically has to save himself out of a car that's being thrown off of a cliff. And it just shows the beginning of the dynamic between these two. And then we launch into our story, and the story becomes a crime thriller where people were murdered in a small town, and they're trying to figure out what's going on because Hal Jordan is convinced that although it looked like people were killed, that it was actually aliens that were killed. And we keep playing through this episode. We see some really great characters. I almost felt like it was a prequel movie to what we're going to see in the rest of the Lantern show, because fast forward, we see all these really cool characters. Hal Jordan trying to figure out, they captured this one alien, and the police captured this one alien that Hal Jordan believes is an alien. No one else believes he's an alien. And it turns out Hal Jordan was right. That sequence where he's using his power ring was really interesting because it showed how he can confine an explosion as the alien. Turns out he's probably not a good guy, and has the ability to blow himself up at any time. The sequence of Hal Jordan containing it was really cool. We didn't see too much of the Green Lantern powers in this episode. We saw him fly away, Hal Jordan fly away like we did in the trailer, and there was no green aura around him. We seen interesting things, constructs that the ring could do in this episode. We saw John Stewart, when he was borrowing the ring, he lit this lady's cigarette that he was hooking up with. And then later on in the episode, Hal Jordan used the power ring to generate money to put into a jukebox, which was interesting. So I'm interested to see the way the constructs show up in this show, because so far it was definitely more grounded in episode 1, where there weren't as many effects. But I think it's part of the allure of the show. It's a superhero show that's more of a crime drama than a superhero show. Now, without going through every detail of the episode, what I found the most interesting is towards the end of the episode, we fast forward to 2026. And we're back in that small town that both John Stewart and Hal Jordan were in this whole episode. And we don't know why John Stewart's there, but he's clearly older. He doesn't have a power ring, but he's meeting the sheriff who was throughout the first episode in 2016. And they're walking onto the same football field that the alien incident happened, where a bunch of the aliens were murdered. And as we're going through the football field, we find Hal Jordan, and he's been murdered in 2026. So that twist at the end was so interesting and very similar to True Detective, how you just didn't see that coming, and it set up the rest of the episodes for this season to where I'm hooked. I'm very excited to see what happens, and I think that, at least from episode 1, Lanterns may be an answer to what we've been looking for out of the DCU, and maybe it can be saved. Maybe it's just there needs to be a little bit of change in the tone in some of the stories we see, and maybe we're going to see that in Man of Tomorrow. I'm sure James Gunn has learned a lot from making the Superman movie the way he did. It's not like that movie was a bomb by any means. It just, wasn't the most successful movie ever made. So I'm interested to see, especially because we're going to see John Stewart apparently in the Man of Tomorrow movie as a Green Lantern, or at least as John Stewart. So I'm interested to see where things go in the DCU from here. I'm definitely hooked on Lanterns, and I may not be doing an episode by episode, play by play of everything that goes on, but I'll definitely be doing something towards the end of the series run where we can do a recap on the entire Lantern show from beginning to end and have a bigger picture. But if you have anything you saw that you liked in Lanterns, let me know in the comments below. And if you got knowledge and value out of today's video, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to keep up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Till next time, my name's Jeff Fagan. I am the Nerdy Filmmaker, and I will catch you in the next one.